When I hear this music, I feel like I'm doing a bit of time travel. I can hear the history. This sound has traveled far, and I want to know its journey. And when I saw this music being performed, I thought, wow.
It really is one of the most beautiful instruments ever. It has a sound that you can't, somewhat like a piano, somewhat like a guitar or a harp. And it's made to accompany the voice, so you can sing and play it. The precision of this instrument, when it's played together, and the power and the sound is breathtaking.
That's Irene Kuzma, a member of the ensemble performing this concert. She's in Lincoln for a reunion of sorts, like a family reunion. She and other members of her ensemble are sharing their heritage. But instead of memorabilia and photo albums, they've brought this instrument.
When you're holding the instrument, it's a vibrating instrument, and you're holding it to you, and you really feel it. You feel the bass, you feel that vibration. It's very special. This instrument is part of you.
To see this instrument and the ensemble, it's almost as overwhelming as a family reunion, but in a good way. And I am bringing you with me to this event. Dear listener, Irene would like to introduce you to a member of her family. Please meet the Bandura.
The bandura is central in my house, central in my home. It can't be divided from my family. If there's a fire, I'm grabbing the banduras. Forget the pictures, forget everything else. Grab the instruments, because that is key.
Forget the pictures? Isn't that usually how families preserve memories? Well, I learned that for these women, the bandura is the family history. The 11 women of the North American Women's Bandura Ensemble performed in Lincoln, each of them with these huge stringed instruments. Here's 20-something member Maria Pleshkevich. Like any young American, the history of the bandura wasn't what captivated her initially. As a kid, it was more visceral.
It sounded really cool. It looked really cool. Honestly, that's part of it. But the history is really beautiful of the instrument, of it coming over here, and everything that it kind of symbolizes for the Ukrainian people as well.
In this podcast, we listen to people who've moved around and, for whatever reason, can struggle to define their concept of home. But their tool through that navigation is music and art. Remember Sarah Rowe? She told me something about the songs she shared with me on her flute. And it has me thinking about the bandura now.
I don't like to say that I wrote these songs. They just live in these flutes.
I think this is similar to the bandura. Home is carried inside the instrument. And these women of the ensemble are going to show us how. Listen to Ukrainian-born member Lesya Klimchenko speak about it.
The bandura is like all my life. Playing these songs remind me being in Ukraine and being with my family, with my relatives. And I'm happy to be with the Women Bandura Ensemble because playing bandura connects me to my motherland.
The bandura today is a result of evolution and revolution, but just looking at one is a captivating experience. Now take that times 11. We will have pictures and video on our website, plainstorypodcast.org. You've got to see this thing. It has more than 50 strings on it. The women playing it have to be seated and cradle it in their laps. The bandura is bigger than their torsos. It's like a giant half pear, flat on one side, where the short neck is that holds the longer bass strings. Today, the bandura is called the voice and soul of Ukraine. Centuries ago, it was the instrument used by blind travelers, a minstrel bard tradition that fostered the birth of Ukrainian folk music. And just like Ukraine, the bandura has seen some It's complicated. As the bandura migrated time and place, it held on to old traditions and developed new characteristics. And just like any family reunion, certain relatives have an affinity for the old, while others have a penchant for the new. Here's Oksana Rodak speaking about the bandura family tree.
There's always a bit of an argument with bandura players who does what. Maybe it's like between violinists and fiddler players as well. There's more of a traditional style and folk style and more of a conservatory or classical style. And what we do, we have some players that are interested in the folk and some more of us are interested in more of the classical way of playing it.
These two styles of the bandura, the folk and the classical, are like separated twins, where one stayed home and the other traveled the world. The bandura is an instrument so closely associated with the heart of Ukrainian culture that it became problematic. When Ukraine became part of the Soviet Union, anything boldly Ukrainian could get in the way of creating a unified culture of the USSR. While Ukrainians grappled with assimilation into the Soviet Union, the bandura was also forced to conform, first under academic instruction and then with government oversight.
Their playlists had to be authorized, and they weren't allowed to play certain things. Folk songs were, they would turn them into these bigger pieces and use all the technical expertise.
Yeah, folk music. It can be a troublemaker. Traveling bandurists singing songs about the glory of Ukraine or the oppression of the new regime proved to be a thorn in the side of the Soviet government. Eventually, the traveling minstrel tradition was restricted with passports and travel bans. And with time, bandurists were rounded up, arrested, and often even executed.
The bandura was almost eliminated. Many of these minstrels were eliminated. We never heard from them again.
Meanwhile, many Ukrainians began emigrating out of an increasingly war-torn and famine-stricken homeland. Others, including groups like the Ukrainian Bandurist Chorus, emigrated in search of freedom from Soviet control.
When the Ukrainian Bandura Chorus left Ukraine altogether at the end of World War II, and any other performers that got out to diaspora countries such as Australia, South America, Brazil, Argentina, Canada, they brought the traditional style with them. What happened in Ukraine during the Soviet era, the bandura continued to develop.
The two identities of the bandura kept evolving. Imagine, with our twins, that the one who stayed attended boarding school and learned violin with daily instruction, while the one who left kept playing the fiddle songs Papa had taught them since birth, which they passed on to their children and grandchildren. Listen to Maria introduce this bittersweet song.
A mother tells her young son that, like the migrating birds, he too will one day spread his wings and fly from their home, but will always remember his family and homeland.
Ukrainian migration in the U.S. helped the bandura folk tradition develop in places like New York, Detroit, and Chicago. Today, when the North American Women's Bandura Ensemble strikes their strings in places like Nebraska, descendants hear a piece of Ukraine. Just like Sarah's flute, the bandura carries a piece of home inside it. Oksana Rodak can remember her family keeping the traditions of the motherland.
Both my parents were actually born in Ukraine, and they came to Canada after World War II. So they came as children. And at that time, it was very important for those immigrants that came to preserve their language, their culture, their identity. I believe I only spoke in Ukrainian until I started in grade 1. I only spoke in Ukrainian exclusively. Even though we did a lot of things that were Canadian, the Ukrainian part was very, very important. Always seemed to take precedence over Canadian things. I started playing bandura when I was 9, 10 years old. My mother had a bandura ensemble in Toronto for 25 years, and she started having summer bandura camps.
While Soviet bandurists learned complex and technical compositions, Ukrainian families in the US, Canada, and other countries clung to the cultural memory of their home. They held on to the bandura.
The bandura was, you could either learn it going completely a folk instrument or a classical. So we kept the folk alive here in the diaspora countries, and the classical style really developed fully over there.
Today, the two styles are being embraced by families everywhere. This ensemble is a reflection of that, with both folk-taught and conservatory-taught musicians and compositions that embrace both.
The conservatory trained, technically, their skills are fabulous, and dynamics, and the music, and they are real musicians. Us over here, well, maybe we don't read music as well as we should, but we have that soul, and we do play a lot of simpler folk melodies. It's part of the bandura as well.
And just like the bandura, whether families immigrated across the world or stayed close to the motherland, the identity remains firmly Ukrainian.
The feeling I got the first time I went to Ukraine, I felt that I was actually home and I had found my identity. Since then, I don't want to lose that sense of me. So the music is very much a part of it.
And now, I really do consider this the birth of the instrument right now in the 2000s, because the young people in Ukraine and people over here that came over and saw that we had preserved all this, they were very excited. So now we really have the ability to develop something completely new that the bandura never had before.
I really can't imagine my life without it. We were doing a song and I saw somebody in the audience that was teary-eyed. That actually made me teary-eyed, even though the song for me was essentially not sad at that moment. But when I saw that person having an emotional moment because of what we were doing, it made me happy. It's these emotional qualities that makes us human, all of us, and connects all of us together. And when you have those connections, how can you be angry at people when you have connections with them on various levels? Music is peacemaking. Music is community building. And the closer we can make our communities, the better we are as people.
So in this story, or history, the bandura maintained its bold Ukrainian identity. But in our next story,
1, 2. Try that again.
I want to get into the awkwardness of identity today.
It's kind of like, like you're kind of living in two worlds. Because some, your family, they know you differently. But when you're at school, they don't know that I'm, in this band, or they don't really know, your inside life. So it's kind of like when you get to school, you put on your student form.
How does the next generation connect with their homes while navigating the world today?
Bum, 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 dee. And 1, 1 and a 2 and a dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da dee.
It's time for school on the next episode of The Plain Story, The Sound of Home.
Dee da dee.